On this episode of That One Movie Podcast, Holden, we're finally back, and we are here to talk about Madam Web.
Yes.
And Maestro.
Yes.
And Maestro.
Of course.
If you want to jump straight to those reviews, check out the time codes down in the description. We're going to start off spoiler-free for each of those reviews, and then we'll warn you before we dive into our full-on spoiler discussions. Holden, before we do that, though, we got to talk about some of the news from the last couple weeks in the world of entertainment since we took a break because I now live in a house.
Yeah,
and
a little bit of a different set
I was moving in. Yes, we are at, I think, 3 times the EPA recommended level of radon right now.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Great.
Breathing that sweet, sweet cancer or whatever the line is from Saw.
Pretty sure that's it.
One, something like that gave me that sweet, sweet cancer. To quote Lee Winnell's character from the original Saw. But yeah, here we are in the new space. Here to talk about movies, games, and TV shows. What are some of our stories this week, Holden?
So speaking of Saw, we've got some great Saw news we'll talk about this week. We'll talk about the Fantastic Four has been finally cast in the MCU, as well as some new Predator movies in the works.
All right. Always new Predator movies.
Yes.
Sweet. As always, use the time codes down in the description to jump to any of the stories from this week. Otherwise, stick around for the whole ride. I'm Jimmy Youthy.
I'm Holden Sutter.
And it's time for Tom.
Tom. That One Movie Podcast. Tom. Jimmy, before we talk Madam Web and Maestro, let's do some Toms.
Let's please delay that conversation.
The Toms. Toms is the rapid fire segment in which we rate the news of the week in the world of entertainment on a scale of 3 famous Toms: Brokaw, Bombadil, and Bergeron. Brokaw's the highest, Bombadil's the lowest, and Bergeron is somewhere in between.
Very good.
Good job. You dropped it. That's, you know what?
I dropped Bombadil.
Yeah,
so,
I'll give us a 90% on that one.
One of them. I don't remember. I think it was, I don't know. Roll the tape.
Anyway,
yeah.
We've got some trailers to talk about, Jimmy. And these 3 trailers are ones that debuted little bits at the Super Bowl, which was over a week ago at this point.
Week ago.
Since we took last weekend off. So the first one is what was formerly we had referred to as Deadpool 3, but now it's called Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes, Jimmy. Deadpool and Wolverine. There apparently a rumor that was Deadpool and Friend.
Yeah, there was like a few names they copyrighted or trademarked or whatever right before the Super Bowl. I saw that article, and yeah, Deadpool and Friends or something was one. That's
a good one.
That is a good one.
Deadpool and Wolverine, I think, is better for marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. What'd you think of this?
Looks good. I mean, very Deadpool. A lot of breaking down the fourth wall. You know, pegging is not new to me, but new to Disney. I'm Marvel Jesus. I'm coming in to save your little cinematic universe here. I don't know. We'll see how those go. I don't love breaking the fourth wall. I've only seen both Deadpool movies once in theaters. I don't know if I would. I liked them both when they came out. I don't know if they, for me, would hold up a second time.
I remember liking the second one a little more, but at the same time, I saw the first one quite a bit when it first came out because I was like the right age for it, because I think it was like right when I turned 17, so I could go see it without any parental supervision or whatever. So of course I loved it. I watched it once or twice in theaters and then a few times at home as well. But I think I've only seen the second one once as well. Liking it. Tom Wamsgans is in this.
Yes, Tom Wamsgans.
Matthew McFadden.
Yes, using his normal voice. Yes, which is very off-putting.
It sounds fake, to be quite honest. But it's not.
Mr. Wade Wilson, we know how to fancy British man.
Yeah, he's British, and like the first thing I ever saw him in was like the Pride and Prejudice movie from like 2004 or whatever, where he plays Mr. Darcy. And so that, he is British, but I'm so used to him in Succession with a very good American accent.
Yes. So. From St. Paul.
Yes. Right
Tom Wamsgans, now going over to the TVA section of Waystar Royco, apparently. I'm excited to have him in this. I mean, he was my favorite character of that show, so really enjoyed him and his performance. He won an Emmy, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so good for him.
Yeah, no, and I this is the first time I feel like in a while where a Marvel thing, gets me a little going just by seeing something. I know that's kind of some of the things they, some people make fun of, that they rely on nostalgia or whatever, but I see the TVA, I'm like, I like Loki.
Hey, it's the TVA.
I like Loki. So
You're not.
I feel like
Mobius.
that hasn't happened in a while for Marvel stuff necessarily. But.
Yeah, I wonder where Matthew McFadden's character fits in with the whole TVA.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Just a different wing, maybe.
It'd be funny if he made some reference to Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised.
Honestly, that would be really funny because they went back and reshot something.
Well, I don't think they finished filming until after the strikes, so they very well could have.
Just sees Kang and shoots him in the head or something. I'm gonna take over all the multiverse. I don't think so. You just got canceled, man.
By my gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it looks like more Deadpool. I'm sure it'll be solid. It'll be interesting to see how, they tie into the MCU and everything. I know they're pulling in things from pre-MCU as well. Like, I don't know if this is necessarily a spoiler, but there's some of the older pre-MCU Marvel stuff. A few people have been confirmed to be in this movie.
I don't know anything, so I don't say anything.
I won't say who, but it'll just be interesting.
Yeah, he's got I was saying when we just rewatched the trailer here, he's got the Carrie Elwes.
He does. Him with hair is very weird looking.
I don't like it.
No, I'm glad they rip it off in the trailer.
Yeah. Deadpool, people who like Deadpool are going to like it. Obviously, Wolverine's coming into this. Not really a big part of the trailer. That's fine. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to it. Only MCU movie this year.
Yeah.
It will not be the worst Marvel movie to come out this year, I would say.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Probably not.
At the very least. So I'll give it a Brokaw here.
Yeah. I'll give it a Brokaw as well.
Awesome.
Twisters, Jimmy. The long-awaited sequel / standalone sequel spinoff reboot thing.
As someone who's never seen Twister...
Yeah.
Is this even related, connected?
Well, so that's the thing. The trailer, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen Twister, but the trailer doesn't really indicate it necessarily is other than it's in the Midwest and there are tornadoes. But I think Glenn Powell had said in an interview that it was like not a sequel, but it was also not a reboot, but it was also not a standalone. It was a weird quote where he was just so vague and wasn't saying anything. So I don't know. It's directed by Lee Isaac Chung, who did Minari.
Oh, what?
I have mentioned this several times on the podcast. You always forget, and every time you have this reaction.
Incredible. What?
Yes. So, yeah, and it's starring Glenn Powell, Daisy Edgar Jones, Anthony Ramos, who is just in the Transformers movie.
Yeah. Anthony Ramos.
Ramos, probably.
Yeah, most certainly.
Almost certainly. What did you think?
This is a movie that I have no interest in. But it could be the Top Gun Maverick of movies for me this year.
Top Gun Maverick,
both
the
of
Twister
them
franchise.
Glenn Powell seems to be certainly playing the same characters, so I'm going to give it a Bergeron, Holden, as someone who has no stake in the overall Twister movie universe. I do think it has one of the funniest trailer lines where Glenn Powell says, "You don't face your fears, you ride them." So I thought you were gonna say Twister. I heard Leader.
That would be good too. Hopefully that's said. I mean, the director attached is interesting. We'll see, and that's kind of what makes me hope that it's a little something more than just a stupid weather movie. But at the same time, maybe a stupid weather movie would be fun. I don't know. Decent cast.
Geostorm. Never saw that.
I never saw that either. That's the weather movie, really. I'll give this a Brokaw, honestly.
Yeah. Twisters blows away the others at the box office.
I can't wait for that. I don't think there's anything else coming out.
Twister flops at a scale of an F5.
So stupid.
I'm just waiting for the AI's got to just produce those now.
There was the other thing in the trailer that I thought was really stupid was that they're trying to destroy tornadoes with little drone things.
It seems very Jurassic World sequel thing to do. Let's use these nanobots to take out this.
If the movie leans into camp, which I think is what people really like about the first one, is it's not afraid to just be what it is. it could be a good time.
I like it when the guy's like, twins, when there's
twins.
two double rainbow.
Yeah.
I gave that a Bergeron, right? Yeah,
I think
that's
so,
where I'm
yeah.
at.
And then the final trailer that was also a Super Bowl ad, Quiet Place Day One. Although this trailer came out before the Super Bowl. I think I saw it.
It was a TV spot. I think that's the thing to do. You do the trailer.
And then it's like
YouTube.
Trailer online now.
Yeah, watch the full trailer.
It did that for Deadpool, and I was at a Super Bowl party, and we were all just like, what the heck? We wanted to see more.
Yeah.
Disappointed. But Quiet Place Day One, what'd you think?
Looks good. I mean, oh gosh, I like the fact that this seems, since it is the first day, it definitely seems like a completely different setting and movie in the same world, but definitely a completely different flavor of a film, and I think probably more action heavy.
I can see that.
Just more apocalyptic. Actually, you see the events going on.
Yeah,
high intensity.
You're not going to have people that are already settled in, like John Krasinski or whatever, have a routine. Everyone's just freaking out, not sure what's happening.
Yeah, and you're going to see a lot of people just getting taken out.
Yeah,
just a lot of deaths. I think that's going to be really exciting. Especially, am I blanking? Is it New York City? Is the setting here? I can't
remember.
But very exciting. I mean, Jaimin Hanzu being in it, that's exciting too.
Ties into the second one then, because he was in the second one.
Yeah, I forgot about it. I've seen both of those only ones as well.
Same. I need to rewatch at least the second
I really
one.
liked that second one too when it came out. So I would love to rewatch them. I'm looking forward to everyone being very self-aware about eating their own popcorn at the movie theater.
Yes. Lupita Nyong'o, she's great.
Yes, absolutely.
And so that's exciting for her to
Maz
be really,
Kanata herself.
Yeah, her best role, obviously. And then Joseph Quinn is also in it, and he's in the trailer a bit. But yeah, it's exciting, and good director. The director of Pig is doing it. So
yes,
cool.
Exciting. Very good. I'm excited for it. I mean, both A Quiet Place movies are fantastic in my opinion. I'm going to give this a Brokaw.
Yeah, I'm giving it a Brokaw too. I can't remember when this one comes out. I feel like all three of these are coming in July or something.
A Quiet Place Day One silences the other films at the box office.
Can't have all three of these doing that. We'll see what happens. Next up for news, though, the most important piece. Right here.
Absolutely.
And this is a piece of news that I feel like came out a couple days after our last episode 2 weeks ago. Saw 11, Kevin Gruetert is returning to direct. He's the director of 6, my favorite one, as well as 7 and the last one that just came out, 10.
10, so, yes.
X.
Thomas, 2 thumbs up, Brokaw. I mean, no brainer. This is what we've wanted. Hopefully he's not contractually obligated to do this one like he was
7.
with Saw 3D, the final chapter, or 7, whatever you want to call it. 6 is incredible. The most underrated Saw film.
Yeah.
10 is obviously highly regarded, and 7 is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I think he really, I mean, he was the editor on the first 5 movies as well as Jigsaw, I believe. And so he really understands the franchise. He's been with it for almost the whole time, aside from Spiral, which is the worst one. So, he's got the touch maybe. Exciting.
We love you, Kevin.
We love you, Kevin. We're Kevin's biggest fans here at That One Movie Podcast.
It's all downhill from here now.
It really
for
is.
The podcast.
As for news that people actually might care about, Fantastic Four, the new Marvel Fantastic Four reboot, the cast has been officially announced. Pedro Pascal is playing Reed Richards or Mr. Fantastic. Vanessa Kirby is Susan Storm or the Invisible Woman. Joseph Quinn, speaking of which, is Johnny Storm in the Human Torch. And then Eben Moss Backrack, I don't remember how you say his name. Ben Grimm, the Thing. So obviously Pedro Pascal we're big fans of. We quite enjoy. Vanessa Kirby has been in like the Mission Impossible movies recently and was just in Napoleon as well. Joseph Quinn in Stranger Things. He's going to be in the new Quiet Place movie. And then the last guy, who I don't want to try to say his name again, he was on The Bear. He's really good on The Bear. He's like one of the main characters.
I cannot think of Joseph Quinn off the top. Oh yeah,
yeah. He's Eddie Munson.
Eddie Munson, the guy who's in one episode of Game of Thrones too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Torch.
Yeah. So it's the consensus online that I seem to see is that Vanessa Kirby and then the Thing guy, who I'm just going to refer to as the Thing guy since I once again don't want to say his name. those are like perfect casting, and I would agree. I think they would fit the characters quite well. People are more mixed on Pedro and Joseph Quinn. I think they're still. I mean, I like both of them as actors, so I'm still into it.
Yeah, I just don't know that much about the Fantastic Four. Really seen the mid 2000s movies like once each.
Sure. Yeah, I think I've maybe only seen the first one at one point.
You haven't seen The Silver Surfer?
I haven't seen Silver Surfer. I have seen Fant Four Stick though.
Okay, I haven't seen that one. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm at a Bergeron here. I know they're like the linchpin of the new MCU, but the Fantastic Four means absolutely nothing to me at this moment. But neither did the Guardians of the Galaxy 15 years ago. So that's a Bergeron for me.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a Brokaw
because
I just like the cast. It's coming next year, July. It seems to have been moved up in wake of like not knowing what to do about Kang and whatnot. But also the official art they announced this with, I mean, it could mean nothing, but it uses this, like, it reminded me of like the Incredibles just style, like retro future 60s stuff. And that's what a lot of people like that, of the Fantastic Four. I think that's kind of a popular era of them in the comics. So who knows? Maybe they'll incorporate that. That could be a cool style.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Let's see.
Otherwise, Jimmy, Coyote versus Acme. If we had talked about this last week, I would have been in complete hysteria. I would have been really mad.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still angry about it, but I've cooled down on it a bit. So Coyote versus Acme.
Holden's now completely in favor of just canceling movies.
Yes, absolutely. So previously we had talked about it was a movie that had been fully completed and they looked like they were shopping it around. But it seems like it's just no longer going to be released, instead written off for tax reasons and just not sold to any studio at all.
Yeah. So from what I remember, they're selling it off. It's about $35 million tax.
Yeah,
write-off.
Something like that.
And they were not taking anything less than like 70 million.
70 or 80 million, something like that.
Whatever the number was. But
yeah,
if a company's willing to pay you, and they were interested, studios.
I'm pretty sure like Netflix and Paramount, several places were interested.
If they're going to pay you 50 million,
yeah,
that's
what is the point?
15 million more than 35. And
I like even aside from that, you're releasing a movie that it contains a property that's very close to your studio, so you'd get probably more people interested in other Looney Tunes properties through this too, right?
And apparently it's just good.
Yeah.
Like one thing to cancel Batgirl, like, okay, Batgirl, yes, people made this, but did we have any faith that Batgirl was going to be an amazing film? I don't know. It could have been fine. People saw this.
Yeah,
it's co-written by James Gunn. Am I wrong?
Yeah, that's right.
What are we doing here?
That's the part of the puzzle I still don't get. We talked about it last time, and I still don't understand it. Why is James Gunn
co-written by writer of Guardians of the Galaxy 1, 2, 3? What do you people see that in the chair? Oh, I like Guardians of the Galaxy. People love Guardians of the Galaxy. It's such a palatable thing for so many people. You put that on this good word of mouth.
And he's literally a part of your studio right now too. Like I don't think he can be outspoken about it, probably for contract reasons, and I understand that because he's got that big job and everything. But it's just like I can only imagine he's probably like seething in his office at Warner Bros. Like just pissed off about it. I would be if I had written something that's just not going to be released, even though it was completed.
I mean, I would be more upset, but I think like contractually, this is just going to be part of agreements for creators moving forward. Like, I'm signing on to make this film. You have to release this film theatrically or on a streaming. You cannot do that. Like, written into the contract, at least with like your, Denis Villeneuve and your Chris Nolans, they're not going to be. Also, you wouldn't ever just dump one of their films, I wouldn't assume. But,
no, with how high their budgets are.
I mean, boy, I would like to be in the room when they made this decision to understand their perspective, because it is certainly hard from an outsider to see the sense in this.
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense. I can't remember what the budget on this movie was, but like I know a lot of movies aren't doing the best at the box office right now, but this one has a lot of things going for it.
If you sell it, you don't have to pay for the marketing.
Exactly, that's true.
Just
exactly.
$50 million. There you go.
And that's just, it seems to be just, you'd get $50 million. I don't know. It's so dumb. Apparently David Zaslav and other WB execs haven't even seen the movie. They're just getting rid of it without having seen it.
You know, why would you want to get emotionally attached?
I guess, yeah. I've seen some things online, and I don't know how true this is, that say that WB was purposefully made the amount too high for studios, and it was all like a PR stunt trying to sell it, which is stupid if that's true. Regardless, I hate the whole situation. I want to see this movie because I hear it's good. I like the Looney Tunes, and particularly I do quite like Roadrunner and Coyote. I think those are probably my favorite out of those that I've seen. So, and I think the concept is just very funny too. So hopefully we still get it. It doesn't seem like it's totally in the can. From what I understand, there's like a WB earnings call happening this weekend, I think. So a lot of people think we might hear more after that comes out. We'll see. So maybe next week we'll have more to say. That's a darn shame if it's gone.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it. And for those of you who don't remember, when we talked about this previously, it's the Looney Tunes Coyote who tries to run down Roadrunner.
Yeah.
And he always buys these products from Acme Corporation or whatever.
That just like never work.
They never work. And then, so it's him suing Acme.
Yeah.
And it's like the Who Framed Roger Rabbit style.
Yeah, where it's live action and animation.
Yeah.
And it seems
court drama thing.
Yeah.
Like just goofy stuff, but apparently it works.
Yeah. I seem to have a good cast. I think John Cena was in it. I know like Will Forte. I can't remember who else, but I mean the few screenshots that they're kind of released or leaked to the public looked quite good.
Yeah.
Visually at least. So
Bombadil, certainly.
Absolutely. Yeah. Easiest Bombadil maybe ever. Just so dumb. Stop just canceling movies that are completely like, yeah. And as you said, like Batgirl wasn't completely finished. It's still stupid they canned it, but there wasn't a final edit of it. This movie's like all done. Just what the heck? Stupid. Jimmy.
It's like deleted from everything. Like you can't, even if you made it, like you can't watch it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I saw too. So, at the very least, I would support someone leaking it. If it gets canned, someone leak it, please. Anyway, on some more positive news and more interesting news, maybe. There's some new Predator movies in the works. So first off, Prey 2 is in the works.
Pray to God.
Which we reviewed Prey a year and a half ago when that came out, and we quite enjoyed it.
Predator versus the Greek gods.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah. Mythologies. Come on.
Predator mythology.
Predator, Mount Olympus.
But anyway, with Prey 2, Amber Midthunder, who starred in that first one, is in talks to return to star. But then the other one that I thought was really interesting was a movie called Badlands, which is the working title for a new Predator movie directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who did Prey.
And 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah. And it will seemingly be set in the future with a female lead, but not much else is known.
In the Badlands?
I would hope
South
so.
Dakota?
That'd be cool. Well, so we talked about with Prey, how what you need to do with Predator is just drop it in different time periods, right? And I still think like a medieval Predator movie would be so cool, I mean, even, Greek mythology one would be really funny.
Roman gladiator.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you could do with this. Or like feudal Japan. I don't know. There's just a lot of things you could do with Predator.
Is your honor?
But, this one's in the future. Not exactly the direction I would expect, but, it's still going in that direction of just do a different time period, drop the Predator in.
Yeah.
So while it's maybe not exactly what I would have wanted, it's still probably going to be cool.
Cowboys versus aliens versus Predator.
Well, Predator is an alien, so.
But we had Alien versus Predator.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Cowboys versus aliens versus Predator versus King Kong ex Godzilla. Of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think both of these sound good. I don't know if Dan Trachtenberg is going to do Prey 2, but I mean, I think he did a great job with Prey 1. I mean, we like 10 Cloverfield Lane here on this podcast. So very exciting to see him keep working on these.
I'll go to Brokaw.
Yeah, I'll go to Brokaw as well.
There
They
we go.
seem to do well for Hulu and Disney, so maybe this will get a theatrical release. That'd be cool.
Sweet.
Yes. And Jimmy, The Conjuring, Last Rites, the new Conjuring movie coming out. Michael Chaves or Chavez, however you say it, probably I don't know. Regardless, he's the director of Conjuring 3, and The Nun 2 he's going to be directing this one.
None of your business.
And also, it was confirmed that this is going to be the final of the main Conjuring movies, which makes sense with the name.
Last Rites.
Last Rites. What do you think of this stuff? I'm gonna go Bergeron.
Yeah, Bergeron. Look, I don't like Conjuring 3 really at all. I thought
that movie is soured in my mind. Oh, at the same time though, I do not remember much from that movie.
I can't tell you. I think the Ed and Lorraine Warren stuff was good, and the rest was dumb.
I think so. We have a whole review, but we don't remember this.
It's such a forgettable movie.
Yeah. I kind of remember the ending, like the last 20 minutes or so, but like that's really all I remember.
Now there's like a Netflix documentary about the same story. That's probably better. I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I think that movie, I liked The Nun 2 better than that movie. I thought The Nun 2 was all right and decently directed.
The Nun 2 is more memorable. More rememberable. I'm not sure I could compare them easily, but yeah, it's at least more memorable.
I had way more fun with The Nun 2, and I thought it was better directed. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. So, and that's more recent. But of the two main Conjuring,
he also did Curse of La Llorona, which is apparently really bad, but I haven't seen it. I don't know.
I'm at a Bergeron. His last movie was the best of those. So.
Yeah.
Nun 2, overhated, none your business.
I'm not sure I'd go it's that overrated. I didn't like it that much, but
heated.
Overhated. Last up, Jimmy. Moana 2 is apparently happening and soon. It's coming to theaters November 17th, 2024.
That is very soon.
Yeah, apparently. So previously there was a Disney Plus series announced about this. Apparently this is reworked from that.
That's not a great sign.
I saw a comparison that I think is very apt.
This story is just not very compelling for a show. Let's make it into a movie.
I saw a comparison that's very apt. That was a whole thing with like Disney sequels in like the early 2000s when they would release straight to DVD. There were a few of them that were just like the first 3 episodes of a canceled show, and they would just make a loose narrative. The Atlantis movie had that.
That was the Atlantis movie? What was that?
Yeah, the Atlantis movie had a sequel.
Oh, it had a sequel.
Yeah, it had a sequel, and it was just
I don't remember that. What's that movie called? Is it just Atlantis?
The Lost Empire or something like that?
And then there's Treasure Planet.
Yeah.
I should watch those.
Treasure Planet's good. I've seen that within the last few years. I don't remember anything about Atlantis, but there's that. I think Hercules had that. I think there was a Beauty and the Beast version that was a like show movie thing. So it's very reminiscent of that. We'll see.
Well, isn't Ryan Gosling like the young Hercules or something? Is that who's the young Hercules?
He's young. That's a live action show, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's young Hercules.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's related to the Disney stuff. No.
But it is. I am thinking the right thing, right?
Yeah. I think that's related to like the Hercules, the Legendary Journeys or whatever live action show from the 90s, which was a thing. I've never seen either.
Yeah. What are we even talking about? Moana 2?
Moana 2. I saw Moana once and I liked it. I don't really remember much about it.
I saw Moana once and I predicted the end of the movie about 30 minutes in.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty predictable.
Yeah.
Music's decent.
Was it coconuts? Funny coconuts?
Coconuts?
I don't know. There's funny coconuts.
There's the crab.
There's the chicken.
Big crab. There was chicken.
Shiny. What can I say except you're welcome?
Yeah, there's a couple good songs in there.
Beautiful animation.
There was the pig. I think it was a pig and a chicken. Or like
pig and a chicken.
Yeah, I think that's right.
My nephew likes that movie.
Okay. Yeah, I'm at a Bergeron. Whatever. Who cares? Moana 2. I guess
Moana's,
at least
the first one. I mean, it's good.
Yeah, it's good.
Better than Frozen 2.
Yeah, hopefully it's better than
Check out the review in the back catalog.
Tog, Jimmy. We've got some Tog. That's it from movie news.
Thank goodness.
But for That One Gaming podcast, we have a new Mandalorian game is in the works, which I thought sounds cool. It's at Respawn, who did the Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order games, did Titanfall, so they have experience with first person games. Apparently, this is going to be a single player game that involves bounty hunting with linear levels. So right down my alley.
Linear levels. I like that.
Yeah.
Bounty hunting. We'll see. I mean, I'm not a big shooter fan.
I love my take that is unpopular is that I love shooters as long as they're single player. So, which I know for a lot of people love the multiplayer aspect, but that's Titanfall 2 I played, but I only played the single player and it was pretty good. So
yeah. I played that and I was like, nah, just don't. It's cool. I don't really like shooters.
Yeah.
So I was kind of done with it.
You might be into it though for the Star Wars aspect, Jimmy.
The Star Wars. I'll give it a Bergeron. I mean, look, how have we not gotten more Star Wars games? Like seriously, like what? Well, pumping out movies, pump out games. Seriously.
I forgot that we have that Outlaws game coming out this year.
Yeah,
we'll see how that is.
Yeah, that's kind of like the Avatar game to me. You know, like
well, and they're both Ubisoft, right? I think.
Is Outlaws? I don't remember. It's just one of those things. Like I should be more into this than I am, and I just feel like.
Ubisoft has a formula that people are not into anymore, unless it's Assassin's Creed. Because, like, I don't think that...
Even then, people don't like... Well, I guess they went back for Mirage.
Yeah, it's Ubisoft doing that.
I like the logo.
Yeah.
Very cool, sleek Star Wars Outlaws logo. I'll give that a Broca.
The logo.
The design, the graphic designer. Bergeron for the start. I mean, I should be more excited.
I'm going to give it a Brokaw because I think Respawn did it. I mean, I haven't played Jedi Survivor. I heard it was good once the bugs were patched.
You know, Brokaw because of linear levels, like you said.
Yeah. Big linear fan. Railroad me in a way I do not want to have any choices.
Same.
Just give me a good, well-paced story.
Yes. Thank you. That's all I wanted here. That's all I wanted was just guide me. I don't want to
good well-paced story with the fun gameplay.
Good.
Yeah,
Good. There it is.
Invisible wall.
I'm glad
I won't walk by it.
Yeah, I'm glad I can't go past this bush or climb up on this ledge.
There's yellow paint telling me where to go.
Yes.
Give me more of that.
Thank you, Naughty Dog. Started a Plague Tale yesterday.
Ooh, we'll hear about that.
There we go.
Later on, but. I mentioned quick. I didn't write it down because it wasn't as exciting as we initially thought. But there was that whole like Xbox thing, where there was a whole rumor going around that they were releasing some of their games on other platforms, like at least on PlayStation, and they confirmed that for like none of the games that people thought they were doing.
Well, what were the? It was
Hi-Fi Rush was like one of them, which is apparently very good. I'm excited for that one because I want to play that, but
I don't remember. It's like two highly regarded games that are like smaller, and then two other games they didn't confirm. They said like 4, but people are like, it's these two games. Like we're pretty like 95% sure it's these two games, and they said we are not going to confirm anything with Indiana Jones or with Starfield, and likely not going to happen, but they're not going to say never just because they don't want to say never.
I wouldn't be surprised if like they just want to see how sales of these do. Like,
I don't think they're coming over. I just think they were like, well, we don't want to say no just because you never know, but like, no.
That could be. And that's disappointing if true, because I was riding a high for like a week or so of me thinking I was going to get the Indiana Jones game without, just on the PlayStation. Yeah. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, now I got a Series X right over there.
Yeah, there you go.
Tucked away. Ready to play Indiana Jones. I've not played anything on it yet.
Have you even turned it on?
I have turned it on and logged into Microsoft. But why? I literally have nothing to play on it.
Does it have a disc drive?
Yeah, it's got a disc drive.
I wasn't sure if that was the disc one or not.
I do. I mean, I have Madden 15 and FIFA 17, but I currently have those at school for my video game club to play on my old Xbox One. So,
well, disappointing if those are the only games. I'm excited for Hi-Fi Rush because I've heard a lot of good things about it. Yeah, there was one. I'm trying to remember what that other game was that was like, but whatever. It wasn't Halo or Gears of War or Starfield.
I could have told you a few days ago, but yeah, no. My plan is just to be just buy Game Pass the month the first party Xbox games comes out.
Yeah,
then I'll just play that for the $15 or whatever for the month, and then I'll be done.
I mean, I've been accidentally paying for EA Play for the last couple months because I keep forgetting to cancel it after I played Dead Space for that 1 month. So,
well, EA is really starving for your money.
Yeah, $5 a month they charge. Anyway, that's it for TOMP and Tom's in general. It was a big week because we had 2 weeks worth of stuff, and I pushed some stuff for next week because it's going to be a shorter gap in between now and then. So, got more news next week.
Awesome, fantastic,
exciting.
We're doing Madam Web first.
Madam Web first.
All right, rip off the Band-Aid. Here we go. Madam Web, spoiler-free review, but let's be honest, you can stick around for spoilers. Right after this.
All right, Madam Web, the new Sony Marvel movie directed by S.J. Clarkson, who did the Prague episode of Succession, where it's Tom's bachelor party.
Yeah. I can't remember.
That's the only thing I know. I think she's directed a lot of TV. That's the only episode of Succession she did, and that's the only thing I can remember she's done. This is her first movie.
know what episode that is, but I'm struggling to remember anything specifically about it.
I remember the bachelor party being funny, but that was being a fun time.
All right, here we go. Cassandra Webb, 2 B's, is a New York City paramedic who starts to show signs of clairvoyance. Forced to confront revelations about her past, she must protect 3 young women from a mysterious adversary who wants them dead.
Yes. This movie is dreadful. It is horrible. I love it though. This movie is worse than Morbius, but it's also funnier than Morbius, I think, in a lot of ways. That's what I think. I think it the bar was set pretty low with Morbius with these. I think there are a lot of issues with this. Who knows how much of it is, studio interference and whatever. I'm sure some of and there were reshoots, of course, but it is a pretty terrible movie through and through. I really don't think intentionally there's any redeemable qualities about this movie at all.
Well, when your lead actress comes out and says she doesn't want to watch her own movie for her mental health or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Self-care, I think was what she said. That's not a good sign.
This is a movie where the behind the scenes is going to be very interesting to see as time goes on. The promo tour is just hilarious because everyone involved thinks is pretty much terrible. Aside from maybe the director, who at least is being professional about it, and maybe a couple of the other actors. But Dakota Johnson certainly thinks it's pretty bad and is not hiding it very well.
Okay, why is Madam Webb Webb has 1 B, but then Cassandra Webb has 2 B's?
So my thinking is the last name Webb is a real name because you have Mark Webb who directed the Amazing Spider-Man movies. So I think they just wanted to give her a real last name and have it be Webb, but if it was just 1 B, it'd be kind of who has a last name with 1 B. As far as Webb goes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, imagine just getting pooped on by the actress of the 50 Shades of Grey. She's in the 50 Shades of Grey movies and she's the one saying that this is bad. I've never seen the 50 Shades of Grey movies. Clearly I have not watched them. I have not seen 1, 2, 3. No, I don't know. What do they have subtitles?
Yeah, it's 50 Shades Freed, 50 Shades Darker, or something like that. Not that I know this. I'm guessing right here. I've not seen those movies.
I've only read the books.
What'd you think, Jimmy? I've said a lot about my overall feelings.
This movie is very rough. I don't know what to say about it. It's just not good. It's just really not good. From the very beginning, it just establishes itself as being not a good movie. I mean, there's so much expository dialogue. There's really weird zooms and pans in the
I think,
opening sequence. That's like not even in the rest of the movie. It's just in the opening sequence.
So I think those are called crash zooms or whatever. But I always think of Zack Snyder because he does it in Man of Steel all the time. Like in the action
that was like a
scenes
very 2010 thing to do.
Yeah. And it's also, I think like The Office does it too, to an extent, like when it's just in its, different context for those.
It was very like a early J.J. Abrams thing, kind of that late 2000s, early 2010s.
But this movie does it for like the first 20 minutes, I would say, maybe a little less than that. It does it, the opening scene, it does it. And then it does it for like 5 minutes beyond that. And then it's stops.
Gone. It's gone.
It's
Thank
so
goodness.
Weird. Yeah.
But
it was so distracting. But
like,
it was just a weird choice.
Why are we like zooming into this guy while he's just talking normally? It's like, I don't know if it's supposed to add like intensity or something. The Office is because it's supposed to feel like raw and just
and it was like
impromptu
it adds
footage
to the comedy.
This is like, no, it's a movie, and then you randomly have a shot like this.
Yeah,
it's
where it just
very
looks
jarring.
like it's homemade, kind of, but it's not on purpose, and it's so strange. So performance-wise, Dakota Johnson, I do not think. I don't think I've really ever been a fan of much I've seen her in. Granted, I haven't seen her in a ton. I feel like she's always just kind of this way, just kind of like deadpan. Like, I don't know how to describe her demeanor in this movie of the character and the acting. It's not for me. I don't, maybe some people think she's great and maybe she's great in other things. And there's that Suspiria movie she's in. I've heard she's good in. Haven't seen it, but I don't know. It's not particularly my cup of tea in that regard.
I don't know if anybody's hearing the sirens. It's Madam Web on her way to get you in the paramedics. You know what's awful about this movie, Holden, is you have to watch multiple parts of it several times.
Yeah. This is true.
I was like, oh my gosh. It is so obvious, like the scenes where it's like having a goes vision and then back and vision back. It's just like, my gosh.
And it doesn't help too that pretty much all of those scenes are also just in the trailer, like where it just reveals like when it is. And it would be obvious without it, but we've seen that trailer so many times as well.
It's brutal. It's like, I get it. I don't need to see this 4 times. You haven't said, we didn't say anything about that. What are you, Cassie? Why are you acting so weird? I'm like, how many times do we need to have this exact same thing happen? I get it. She doesn't understand why she sees the future.
Yeah. And the first time it happens, I get, and honestly, I think it's done the best the first time when I guess, I don't know, she's getting her blood checked or whatever after being in the water.
Something like that.
I don't know. And it's still not great there, but at least there it's slightly more subtle.
I forget like the 5 times it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk about it really bad. The villain of this movie.
Oh my gosh.
So I am so glad. I feel validated because I thought I was going bonkers in this movie. This man, all of his dialogue is ADR'd. I think 100%. At least 90% of his dialogue is ADR'd in this movie. I don't know. Is this confirmed? Well, it's an observation I've seen a lot of people notice. And I'm like watching this movie.
It's very off-put. Like his voice sounds weird.
It's
very weird. It's uncanny.
He has an accent that I can't really, exactly place, which is whatever. That could be a choice, but there's a lot of scenes where it just sounds like it's not coming from his mouth. And there's a few scenes where his mouth doesn't move very clearly in the frame and dialogue is said. Like it is incredibly, it was very distracting for me. I was like, this is horrible. And then it's compounded by the fact that this is one of the worst superhero movie villains probably ever
of all time.
Yeah. Like if you thought,
it's one thing when Luke Skywalker lands on Dagobah and George Lucas adds in a line years later, like, looking for Yoda, if you even exist, and his mouth isn't really moving as he's turning away from camera, and it's a little dark and you can't really tell. It's like, oh my.
Yeah, there's just a couple of times where he's just fully in frame and his mouth doesn't move and dialogue is said.
His dialogue is atrocious.
So bad.
He has the worst dialogue of anybody in the film, and that is saying something. Let me tell you.
And his motivations don't make any sense. It's very, very loose.
Oh my gosh.
His powers are really stupid too.
He is a moron.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, I guess we'll talk about it more in spoilers, but I will say he has the powers of Spider-Man. He has an evil Spider-Man suit on, but he doesn't shoot webs. And they
call him ceiling guy.
Yeah, they call him, he mostly just jumps and sticks to ceilings, has some vague higher strength to some extent, but that's never really elaborated on. Otherwise, it's mostly
how
just
does
jumping.
he get his suit on so fast?
How does he catch up to people so quick when he's running around the city without swinging? Doesn't make any sense. It's so bad. And his whole motivation is just that he has these visions of these girls that are going to kill him in the future.
Well, every night he falls asleep and has the same dream. And the dream is that 3 girls are going to break into his house
and kill him. And so first of all, there's spider women, which I don't know the characters, like the individual spider women from the comics that well.
And when we say break into his house, all the footage of like the spider girls in the trailer. Yeah, it's just those shots. It's just those
exactly like them.
It's like they didn't even edit them for the trailer. They just copied and pasted that part of the timeline into the trailer.
It looks so bad in the movie too. Yeah. Like it was, in the trailer, I thought maybe they were just trying to hide him a bit, but no, it just looks like that in the movie too. But they break in. We don't understand why they break in. Like, what has this guy done? I mean, he did kill Cassie's mom, but what else has this guy done? It's very vague. He's just rich for some reason too. And they kill him, which, once again, I don't know anything about these characters, but if they're anything like Spider-Man, they wouldn't just kill a guy. It's so strange.
I almost just want to go into spoilers now, but we'll talk more about it.
Yeah.
And how his approach to this.
It doesn't make any sense.
Essentially, he's just like, well, I need to kill these people from my dream before they kill me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to somehow figure out who these girls are in a very implausible way for 2003 when this movie takes place. Which is just like random references to like American Idol. Otherwise, like there's no reason for this movie to take place then.
Well, that seems to
other than it feels like it came out of 2003.
Yeah, exactly. It is very Catwoman-y, which I have seen, very on that level. But I don't know. I lost my train of thought exactly what I was going to say.
It's a masterpiece. Let's say this relationship between Madam Web and her 3 little spiderlets. I don't know what it's called.
Spiderlings.
It is very weird. It is very strange. They're supposed to be, I don't know. They just seem way, I don't know. It's very strange. It's very weird.
It doesn't make any sense. The girls themselves, they each have like one character trait, really. And if even that, you got Sydney Sweeney, who is good in other things. She's not good here. She's not doing, the script is not doing her
none of the characters have anything to do.
No. But all 3 of them, not very good. They're supposed to like, they have this like chemistry that's like forced upon them. That's not very good. I don't buy them as like a trio or as this makeshift family kind of thing. It is a very weird dynamic. And yeah, anything that Cassie does with them doesn't make any sense at all.
No.
I think the music is not very good. I mean, the original score is bland as can be. I can't remember a single thing about it. The music choices are strange. There's one scene I want to talk about in spoilers that I think the music is really bad. But otherwise, I'm trying to think what else about this movie. There's some stupid product placement in it.
Oh my gosh.
This is very funny. The ending of this movie. I'll say this, Jimmy. I've seen this movie twice.
Oh my gosh.
2 days in a row, no less.
Oh my.
I saw this opening on February 14th, Valentine's Day when it opened. I saw it with my dad because he thought it looked funny bad. We had a good time. And then I saw it with one of my other friends who wanted to see it the next day. Both times thought it was hilarious. The last scene in this movie, the first night, I was dying in the theater. How bad it was.
Oh my gosh.
Horrible.
The last scene is comically bad.
When it's immediately preceded by maybe the worst comic book movie climax I've ever seen in my life too.
Absolutely nonsense.
Which is
the climax takes place at a fireworks factory.
Inexplicably. And honestly, it wasn't until rewatching it that I realized, oh, that's the place where like the fire was.
I did not realize that either.
Yeah.
I would not have known.
And I was like, why are they at this fireworks factory? It's still so stupid why they're there. It doesn't make any sense, but yeah, very loose. Cassie has this whole arc with her mom that doesn't make any sense, that she's just angry at her mom for no reason, really given no reason for that. There's spider people in this. Very stupid. One of the spider people has one of the worst lines I've ever heard in my life, which we'll talk about in spoilers.
The spider people, the Peruvian, the Peruvian spider tribe.
Yes.
Very strange.
The first time they appear is maybe the worst thing I've ever seen, like ever filmed. The way they appear, they like swoop down. It's very unclear what they're doing. Just like vague camera movements with vague stunts happening. Very bizarre.
But let me tell you, if you wanted to see just like 20 minutes of screen time for Ben Parker, boy, here you have it.
Oh my God. Yeah. And that's a whole other thing we'll have to talk about in spoilers is the whole thing with that and the baby shower. And I'm just reminding Jimmy of all these things.
Yeah. I only saw this once.
It's so bad.
A week ago.
And Adam Scott, right? That's who plays Ben Parker.
How did I not recognize him in the trailer? I did
It
did not compute with my brain that Adam Scott was in this movie until I was watching it.
Adam Scott seems to be the only one has any level of awareness of what he's in.
I thought he was pretty good.
He was fine. Yeah,
he was just playing Adam Scott.
Yeah. But that works for this movie that is otherwise just pretty terrible.
And they do the thing where Cassie's just a jerk and doesn't like anything.
Yeah. And for no reason. We're not really given any, aside from her mom dying when she was, born, we're not really given any reason as to her history, as to why she's this way. Grew up in a foster system, but,
thank you for saving my mommy. Piss off, basically. It's basically what she's like telling this little kid. Oh my gosh.
So weird.
What, she doesn't have to be like an angel. It's like, why are you like making just the most unlikable person? And she's like to a nobody is like this amount.
I didn't think it made sense in the trailer either. And it makes maybe less sense in the movie as to why Cassie is connected to these three girls.
No,
that doesn't make any sense. They have had vague interactions in the past, and that's it. Why is it these three interactions specifically?
You're the one who flipped me off.
There's a whole thing about fate in this movie that's never explained. There are some things in here that I think in a much better movie could be very cool, and I'll talk about that in spoilers again. But it's just this movie doesn't do anything with it, and I don't know.
What a bizarre film.
Yeah. I will say, I do think this movie is hilarious, and I'll talk about some of the things I think are very funny in spoilers. But
it's not as funny as something like Saw 3D.
No.
Saw 3Ds are way funnier and more entertaining.
Yeah. And that's something that I'll also say, rewatching this a second time, I think the funny moments are funnier on rewatch. And but I think the boring moments are even more boring.
I cannot imagine. There are some boring moments.
There's some parts of this movie that just drag. So
it makes Morbius look like a good movie. It really does. And Morbius seems like a competently put together film compared to this.
I was going to compare it earlier when talking about the villain, because we crap on Matt Smith in that movie, but at least he's
had fun with Matt Smith.
At least he's doing something. At least there's it is kind of a silly villain, kind of stupid stupid, not the most well written.
Chewing the scenery.
He's chewing the scenery. It's fun to watch. He's giving a performance. He does a little dance in the bathroom at one point.
That's all I really remember about that, other than not being able to tell what's happening during the climax.
Yeah.
Boy, Sony has made some of the worst movies of all time in recent history. I mean, they are on a roll.
Let me double check this real quick. I also feel like Morbius was only an hour and a half, too. I could be wrong. Hour and 44. I guess it's not that much shorter. It is shorter, though. This movie is... why is this 2 hours? No reason. At least there's no post-credits scene.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, you get to go home right away. Mm-hmm. Thank goodness. The post-credit scene is just the end of the movie, and it's awful.
Yeah, for real.
It is hilariously bad. It feels like a parody of the movie. It's like SNL made a parody of the post-credit scene for this movie, and that's what ended the movie.
And so without getting into too much what happens, I do want to mention this here just in case anyone decides to go see it and wants to notice it. Apparently there's a shot in this that is taken from Spider-Man 2.
I heard about this.
Yeah, and I saw a comparison online, and it's just like a random swooping shot, like up a building or whatever. I think it's from Spider-Man 2. And yeah, it's the exact same. For some reason, it's just in this movie.
Easter egg.
I don't know.
They needed a shot.
Yeah, just like, a nothing shot, really.
Shout out to whoever creatively was like, hey, we don't have this shot. We need to put it in here to save this sequence. Why don't we put it in here and then say, look, it's an Easter egg to Spider-Man 2.
I should also mention before we move on to spoilers, there's, because you mentioned it earlier, there's some theories that this movie was not originally set in 2003.
I heard about this.
Yeah, and that's part of the reshoots. Because so many of the references are just like random in there, I think a few of them are also ADR lines. I should clarify also, the villain is the worst case, but there are some pretty bad ADR lines from some of the other characters too. But
clearly everybody was tricked into making this movie.
Yeah.
The actors and actresses.
They heard it was a Marvel movie and assumed it was MCU probably, which is, just a shame. But I don't know. Just horrible.
We will not see another Madam Web.
No.
It's not going to happen.
No. This movie is not doing well, obviously. Makes sense. It doesn't, I think... it seems to be a lot of people agree with me that it is maybe funnier than Morbius, but it doesn't have the meme potential.
Certainly funnier than Morbius.
Yeah. It doesn't have the meme potential of Morbius.
I don't know about that.
maybe it will with legs. I think Morbius had more of a push before
more
it
people
came out.
saw Morbius, I think.
It's true.
Golly.
No one's seeing this. And it is crazy to me because we're getting 2 more of these Sony movies this year. And yeah, and people will see Venom. People will see Venom. But Kraven the Hunter's the other one.
What's the new Venom called?
I don't think they have a title yet.
New Venom's coming out this year?
Yeah, like November.
What?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it could get pushed. I think it's already been pushed back though. So I feel
Who's making it? It's not Andy Serkis.
No, I think it's like it's like the writer of the first 2 is directing it. So I don't know.
Kraven the Hunter, boy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think unless Kraven and Venom prove to be huge successes, which Kraven at the very least will not, I think this could be the end of the Sony movies. And maybe we'll just get Venom movies. Maybe that's it. But Morbius and Madam Web have both proven to be complete failures and just not made any impact.
How do they make this in the Spider-Verse movies?
It's crazy.
How do they make them both?
That's crazy. I guess, yeah, that's true. Spider-Verse is the exception to it.
Wow.
One of my favorite movies of last year. And now it'll be hard for a movie that'll be lower than this on my ranking this year. I know it's early. It's possible, but we'll see. At the very least, man. if we have a movie that's this bad and is boring, that will be lower than this.
Wow.
So
yeah, Amsterdam.
Are you? Yeah.
Again,
I do hate Amsterdam more than this movie.
I do too.
What would you recommend this?
No one. For the love of everything good in the world, do not see this movie. Save your money. Go watch the Bob Marley movie that everybody likes.
Yeah.
Why didn't we do that, Olden?
I don't.
That's
you know,
what
it's
that's
probably
what people,
fine.
When I told people we saw Madam Web, people said why, and I said because my podcast co-host is a sadistic little man.
I love seeing bad movies, and I understand Jimmy does not like seeing them as much as me. I was so excited for this. You were you know what? At the very least, you thought it was just going to be boring, mediocre. It is worse than that.
It is.
So
thank goodness.
yes.
If you're gonna be bad, don't be boring.
I think I think this is a 1 out of 10 movie. I do not give that very often, and it is once again hilarious. If you love bad, funny movies, go watch it. But I don't think there's really anything redeeming about it. So 1 out of 10. There we go.
I saw this with Emily.
What'd she think?
She said, it wasn't good, but it was at least entertaining. So she was entertained. I was like, boy, I don't know if I'd go that far. I thought there were some really boring parts.
Absolutely.
When I had to, again, every time she had her freaking vision thing, I do not want to watch this scene again. I do not want to be here longer than I have to be.
Those scenes do kill rewatchability a bit. And I think those are probably the worst parts of when I was rewatching it.
Just like, get on with this thing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, don't see this movie. There you go. Well, Bob Marley, watch that instead.
Yeah, watch the Bob Marley movie instead. Yeah, with that, I guess spoilers, right?
Yep. Diving into spoilers
from Madam Web.
Yep, right after this.
All right. Spoilers for Madam Web, Jimmy.
You know, that's the thing about the future. It hasn't happened yet.
Hasn't happened yet. She gets a fortune cookie that just says you will. Fantastic. Good stuff.
It's like we went to the mall with Emily's family and we were in this like little kids store and there was a little picture book by Matthew McConaughey. Hilarious. It was like everything. And of course I had to read it in Matthew McConaughey's voice. It's like, you know, even though they're not listening, doesn't mean your voice shouldn't be heard or something like, you know, every little thing like that. It was like rhymed. It was hilarious. And there were some lines in this movie with great responsibility.
Well, it was, so I think
great
I remember
power will
exactly.
come.
Yeah, it was, when you accept the responsibility, great power will come or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
So bad. And it was, they had to repeat it. They had to repeat it later. Yeah, it was very funny.
I don't know if Emily's like, why? I feel like she was like, why are you laughing at so much? I'm like,
there's a bit during the climax when Madam Web is about to web all over the place, and she she remembers that quote. It reminded me, and you're not going to remember this part, but the only thing I remember from the Monster Hunter movie is when during the climax of the movie, the main character remembers Ron Perlman simply saying the words, the Rathalos. And it's just like, it's like a JPEG of Ron Perlman's face zooms in on the screen or something. That's all I remember. And I remember thinking that was so funny. And
I forgot that movie existed.
Yeah, right.
What year was that? Was that 2021? What?
Something like that. 2020, 2021.
Was that before or after the pandemic?
I don't know. I mean, I think it came out like December. We reviewed it in January, like a couple weeks after it came out. Okay. So yeah, we would have reviewed it January 2021. Jeez, 3 years ago.
Over 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Golly. Wow, no wonder I forgot that movie.
That's another movie. I think that's one of the few others I've given a 1 out of 10. So there's another connection. But anyway, the climax of this movie, just horrible. They're on a fireworks factory. It's exploding everywhere, just haphazardly.
Pepsi sign.
The giant Pepsi sign, yeah. The Pepsi is what kills. Okay, so this is something else I want to talk about regarding this. It is so I laughed so hard at this on rewatch. There's this constant like thing with the S on this sign. It appears when she first falls in the water at the beginning of the movie. And then during the climax, it keeps cutting back to this S. It is so like clearly she's setting up for this S to do something. And then he gets killed by the P on the sign.
So the S doesn't even do anything?
Not really. It might be the initial thing that like pins him down or whatever before he gets crushed, but the P is what kills him. It is so I was dying that second time laughing at that. And also that's another thing. I don't understand Like he's seems to have some sort of super strength, but he just can't lift that sign off of him.
Yeah.
Once he just gets crushed. All right.
Yeah.
His falling to his death, his scream was very funny. Liked that. Classic. I liked him saying, you can't save all of them. That was one of the few lines I think was not ADR'd actually. That felt, but it was just a funny line still. And then she has these vague powers, which were not. They were mentioned by the spider person briefly.
Random. Like just that tagline. Oh, by the way, you could also like force project yourself.
Yeah, you can just.
Have you ever seen The Last Jedi? I know it's divisive, but you know what he does at the end. Luke Skywalker. Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah. You can force project. It's mentioned with no prior buildup, and then she just does it without trying. And it's the lamest power possible. She's just like kind of saves the people, and then she just like punches her. And it stops her. And it's this big moment. Like it's this big moment where the camera zooms back and pans around, and you see her webbing all over the place.
It's just punched.
She's just punched.
Yeah, that. Well, can we talk about how she just takes a firework to the face?
Yeah. She has to earn her blindness and paralysis because
so does that also paralyze her? Because I'm like, how did she get paralyzed?
No, that's exactly it. I don't know. So in the comics, like her thing is she has psychic powers, but she's blind and paralyzed. So you go into this movie, she's like, okay, somehow she's gonna get blind and paralyzed.
I also didn't remember this.
Yeah.
So this is just extra hilarious to me as I'm sure a bunch of other people going to see this movie don't know about Madam Web.
Yeah. And so she's like falling in the water, she's drowning, just gets hit in the face by a firework.
Didn't see that coming.
And then she is pulled out of the water by second time. The friend I watched it with is like, that's obviously just Sydney Sweeney's stunt double. Doesn't even look like her. She's pulls out by Sydney Sweeney's stunt double and then is just paralyzed for no reason. It doesn't make any sense to me why I on second time through, I didn't notice anything else. The only thing I could think of was there was the whole thing with like talking about his powers. He has like these weird venom powers, like poison powers.
Yeah.
Remember that? And so he grabs her by the wrist at some point in the movie. And when that happened, I was like, okay, there we go. Because he had mentioned earlier very clumsily that he could, paralyze someone permanently or whatever with this. So it'll like spread throughout. And then by the end of the movie, she's paralyzed.
Oh, that makes sense.
But she's not showing any signs of paralysis at all prior to this. She just kind of says her hand hurts like the scene after it happens. And then once she's pulled out of the water.
Maybe that's supposed to be the explanation.
That would be my guess.
Well,
but
can't she just
clumsy.
Force project somewhere and then she's not paralyzed?
Yeah, right. Probably. Probably.
Why don't you just force project behind him and shoot him in the head?
Yeah, because clearly she has like, it's not just like a vision or something. Clearly she has some physical presence.
She pulls
him up. So yeah, why doesn't she do something? Why doesn't she come up behind him, break his neck or something?
Why do they expect the helicopter to land
on this exploding building
with this huge Pepsi sign? We can't go down there. Like
you need to get to higher ground.
Like, you can't shout things from it. There's no way they're hearing.
Yeah,
right?
There's all these fireworks going. What higher ground are they going to get to that also, you can land?
How are the fireworks like exploding through brick walls?
Yeah, right. Like that's when they're in the actual room with the fireworks. They just like use one to blow up a brick wall to escape. Doesn't make any sense. At one point, they're on the roof, and the bad guy just deflects one, and it hits the helicopter. And the helicopter explodes.
How many times is she almost drawn in this? Because there's the scene where they do the CPR and revive her, but that's not at the end, is it?
That is at the end.
Okay, that is at the end.
Yeah. So there's two times. There's the first time.
Chekhov's
drowning. Chekhov's drowning in CPR. Yeah. So that happens. We can get to the final scene.
Also,
in a bit,
why does she need like a near-death experience to awaken these powers?
That doesn't make any sense.
She was born underwater. I don't know.
So backing up a bit, I was thinking about earlier in kind of the climax
shower.
of this.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that at some point, but there's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to unpack here.
The earlier in the climax when what's her name? Emma Parker? No, Emma Roberts is the actress's name. Mary Parker. Mary Parker? Because I think it's May is the aunt. I don't know. Whatever. The mom of Peter Parker goes into labor, and for some reason, I don't fully understand the decision of bringing the girls along with them. That doesn't really make much sense to me when you have this pregnant woman in the car and clearly they're like, someone's after them. But they get like trapped, and you have the bad guy, Ezekiel Sims is his name. I remember this for some reason. He's on top of this building looking down on them. He's about to throw down like a bomb or something and kill them. And there's this vision of that happening. And Dakota Johnson drives a truck through a wall, right? Like there is no, like, granted, I know she has, premonitions or whatever. She could have easily just landed right on top of their car. Like she just misses it. Like, I do not understand this. And
but hold on, you're not thinking this through. She's an experienced ambulance driver. Oh, that's
true. Yeah. So she would understand.
She would have plenty of experience of driving through walls.
But so she drives through the wall. Sims jumps up and gets hit by the ambulance. This guy, he's so just not threatening because he gets beat up so much in this movie. He gets hit by a car twice. He gets hit by a firework in the factory. He is
like the least intimidating villain.
Yeah,
he doesn't do anything other than shoots a pregnant lady.
Yeah, he shoots a pregnant lady. He kills some cops in the subway. That's it.
That's right.
Okay, jumping there for a second. Why is there this thing about no one else can see this guy? Yeah. That's like a plot point for some reason. Like for some reason, no one else in the subway station can see this guy crawling on the ceiling except for Madam Web and the three girls. And then there's just like news reports later that like, oh, they like Madam Web says something about that they didn't see him or something. Why can no one see this guy?
Also, how does she kill? The police think that Cassie has kidnapped these girls.
Yes.
And she's able to fly out of the country to Peru.
I was going to bring that up too. Yeah. Why is she able to just go to Peru?
Also, how does she find in the middle of the jungle this place?
My dad leaned over to me the first time I saw it, and he was just like, yeah, they just drop her off in the middle of nowhere, just with a small backpack and nothing else. She arrives at the place with not sweating at all.
They know exactly who she is.
Yeah.
This secret spider, what'd they call them?
Arachne, I think.
It was something arachne. So made up about arachnids, the arachnia or something.
Yeah.
This ultra secret tribe. How did they bring her to the hospital when she was born or something?
Yeah.
How did they give her up for? Is she adopted? How did she get to the United States?
Yeah. Well,
who's like her adopted parents?
Well, yeah. She mentions that she was in the foster system.
Right?
But that's it. Yeah. How did she get there? It doesn't make any sense.
She was in the middle of this Peruvian place with this tribe that's not supposed to exist.
Yeah. And I also didn't understand.
And then they speak English.
Yeah. Well, right? Okay. Why? Yeah, they speak English. Doesn't make sense with that. But why? Why when she goes back? Why are they suddenly just? Why is the one guy he's just in a suit for some reason? He's like before they were in like this weird like rope outfit thing. I don't know exactly what it was. And they had like red paint on them and stuff. And then just suddenly they go back and he's the only one there and he's just wearing a suit for some reason.
I don't know. You're the one who saw it twice.
It didn't make sense to me. She goes there. She has a vision of her mom, finds out that her mom was finding the spiders in the Amazon because she was going to be born with some sort of sickness or something. I don't remember. So she was finding the spider to combat that.
And that's why it was okay to be there 9 months pregnant.
Yeah, so that was weird. But then also it was just like this weird reunion thing where it was never really clarified exactly why she was so angry with her mom. And then they have this realization, and then they repeat the realization like 2 or 3 times in this scene. They're just like, oh yeah, you know, you did this for me, Mom. You did this for me. I forgive you.
Yeah. I like how she wants to throw away the little kid's drawing, but then she puts it in like her ultra great box of mementos that are like super important to her.
Yeah, that was another thing my dad leaned over to me and said was like, oh, you know, it's a good thing that she looks at this every night. You know, just on any regular night, she pulls this out. Yeah, and that was very stupid.
How about all the allusions to Peter Parker without saying his name, which apparently there was a rights thing, or that didn't make sense though, right? Because they own the characters. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure it would be a rights thing. I don't know why they don't say it. It was just like a little tease for comic book
May
fans.
Parker, but it's so heavy-handed.
Yeah. So heavy-handed. They never say Aunt May's name because Ben says he meets someone but doesn't say her name.
A line that made me laugh was when they're like, "Oh, Ben is so excited to be an uncle, all the fun and none of the responsibility." And she's like, "Yeah, little does he, like, yeah, that's what he thinks." Like, yeah, this effer's gonna get shot.
Well, yeah, no,
I thought, what?
I'm leaving, and if I recall correctly, she says it with like kind of a chuckle too.
Yeah.
It's like played as a joke, like, yeah, his parents are gonna die, and then Ben's gonna get shot. That's so funny,
hilarious,
so good.
I was like, wow,
almost forgot about that one.
Yeah, that's a good line. Little does he know, or what? That's what he thinks.
Yeah, that's what he thinks. I think it is. Yeah. So I want to go back to that baby shower scene because that's just uncomfortable for no reason. Just this so first off, why is she invited to this?
Yeah, that makes no sense. Like, hey, you know, you're a friend of my brother.
Yeah, who I've never met before. Like,
come to my baby shower. Get roped into this game.
I understand. I would understand. You know. Almost like I would understand a lot of other family scenarios you could rope your friend into coming to if you just want them to come out of their shell, right? But baby shower, like, it's clearly about her and stuff. That's the whole point of the party. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense. Like,
who wants to sit through a random person's baby shower too?
Yeah, just not very.
I don't care about your unborn kid.
And so they're there, and then she goes. First of all, that's where the first Pepsi product placement comes in.
Oh my
she
gosh!
Like, here, have a Pepsi. I could use a beer or something. She says something like that, and then she's just showing it to the camera the whole scene. But then she goes inside and she's talking, and the games start or whatever, and it's just like super uncomfortable for like no reason. Doesn't make any sense. Why? Like, for some reason, Mary is like super fixated on Cassie, like answering these questions or whatever. And Cassie's clearly like, you know what? Make the mistake one time. You try to include the one friend, but then you see that she's uncomfortable. You don't have to go back to her. But then she keeps going back to her. And it's just this uncomfortable scene where she starts talking about her dead mom, like her mom who died in childbirth or whatever. Which is clearly not what you want to say to a pregnant woman.
But I mean, it's not okay. Like, she died in child, but I mean,
yeah, whatever she says. So stupid.
Okay, let's go to the next game.
Yeah, she just skips to the next game. Doesn't let anyone else go.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's where they almost say Peter.
Yeah.
And then the balloon
But
pops.
good thing they didn't. That showed a lot of restraint.
Yeah.
Yeah, the balloons pop and they laugh. Why is the balloons popping?
Didn't you just say that? Or whatever. What are we doing? And then that's yeah. I hate that scene. Gosh dang it.
Gosh
dang it.
Oh man.
I'm trying to think what else. I guess
I mean, the other parts of the post credit. I mean, not the post credit, but the end credits. Just
that
she looks
scene.
hilarious.
Oh my god. So yeah, it seems to be they're all living together now because they were either from families that didn't want them or like they were abandoned or something or dead parents, whatever. They're all living together. Like Madam Web, they come in and she's like, they're like, guess what we brought? And she's like, I know you have chicken or something like that. It's so dumb. She's like, I see your future. She's
like, bless you for what? Chew. I'm like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen.
And then she has this whole thing where like, you guys are going to do great things in the future. I see you in the future fighting for what you believe in. And then it's this whole like completely CGI scene of kind of revealing more of these girls in their future costumes. And then you see her costume, which is easily the worst one of the bunch.
Hilarious.
Horrible. And Madam Web has a goofy costume in the comics, I won't deny, but it would be infinitely worse or infinitely better if they just 100% translated what they had there instead of what this is. She has this big like visor glasses on that looks so goofy. My gosh, horrible. And I guess, okay, that reminds me, one of the things I think just doesn't work about this movie's structure is that it's like an origin movie without any payoff for an origin. It's like,
well, you know what it needed? It needed the girls to beat the crap out of the Ezekiel at the end, and it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, even
he just takes
like
the Pepsi sign to the face or whatever.
It's crushed by the P. Yeah, no, it's so stupid because you build up these girls in the Spider-Woman costumes and whatever. For some reason, and it's unclear how they get these powers. That's never even really alluded to. I guess probably they get bit by that spider or something. And yeah, it's just like, okay, end of the movie. This stuff is still just going to happen in the future. We have to build up to that again sometime. No payoff to that at all. There's not even really a payoff to Madam Web and her powers or anything. Because she just randomly gets that astral projection power at the end, and it's so stupid. I don't know. But hilarious.
Back to Ezekiel Sim, because even our 10-minute discussion on him didn't do it justice. Remember the scene where he kills the NSA agent?
Okay, let me say that scene goes on way too long. It is weirdly long, where he's just sitting there and he's talking about this dream he has. And he mentions the only like motivation he has prior to these dreams is like a vague line about I had nothing growing up, just like the most basic thing. Like I had nothing growing up or something. So I'm not going to lose this. And then he explains this whole dream to this woman in bed. And then he kills her with the venom touch, which is, it's unclear how that works. If like he just does that whenever he touches people or if he can control it. I don't know. Not, on paper, not a horrible power, but just not utilized at all in this movie in any interesting way, really.
I like it whenever he's like, oh no, my spider. What happened to, who took my spider?
Who took my spider?
Who took my spider?
He has, we haven't even mentioned he has this woman in a chair.
Yeah, the woman in the chair. Also, there's not that many cameras in 2003.
Yeah, okay. So we can talk about that too. Yeah, that's another thing. I feel like there's a lot of things that indicate this movie was either originally supposed to be set in the 90s at some point in the script, but I think most of the movie was set in like late 2000s, early 2010s. Because there's also the thing in the trailer where you got that guy on the train and he's like, New York City is a whole new level of crazy these days or whatever. He's playing a PSP, which isn't even out yet. It was like 2005 when that came out or something. Which, this is a Sony movie, so why they can't even get that right? It's so weird. But yeah, there's not that many cameras around at that time. She just has this insane computer setup that would not exist, which it could be a suspension of disbelief for like movies that have sci-fi elements set then, but that's like the only thing that's that technologically advanced. And that he can just like describe
them perfectly.
Yeah, from dreams and just immediately get them. Oh, here we'll DH
and they just somehow know that they're 10 years. Like he knows that it's gonna be 10 years.
10 years away.
Yeah, like what?
Yeah,
what if he just killed random people?
Yeah, that whole character, that woman in the chair is so weird because like I feel like she was someone who maybe had more to do pre-reshoots because they weirdly give her a lot of scenes and a lot of screen time, and it's an actress who, well,
and there's no payoff to her, is there?
No, you're right. They don't have any conclusion. It's an actress who isn't like incredibly well known, but I know she was like a star of the HBO show Girls and stuff.
She looked familiar.
Yeah, she's in several things. So it's just kind of like a weird random role for her to not have anything to do. And the entire time Ezekiel Sims just like vaguely threatens her, and then also vaguely like pays her a lot of money. Like it's very vague.
What do I know you from? Zojia.
Mame,
we are butchering that.
Yeah.
She looks so familiar. I don't think Mad Men, maybe parts of it that I've seen.
Oh yeah, it looks like 2007 and
must have been
maybe.
What I've seen her in, because I don't recognize any of these other things.
I've seen some of Girls, so that's where I know her from. But
very, very strange. Ezekiel.
Horrible character.
What was the
Hilarious.
song that was so bad?
Oh, I was gonna so the diner scene, which I think we should unpack the diner scene too, because that's pretty terrible. It plays Toxic,
Yeah.
Which is fine. I think that fits the time period or whatever. But I think it's during the part where after she has the vision and she's like driving, it's also like playing or like original music under, but it's not like a combo remix original arrangement or anything. It's just like two songs layered on top of each other, and it's kind of hard to hear either one of them very well. I thought it was very distracting for me personally, but that was really the only music thing that stood out to me. Otherwise, I thought like the music choices in terms of licensed music were just very on the nose, but lame.
Yeah. We should wrap this up.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, I'm glad we talked about this as long as we did, because I had so much to say. I feel like I took a couple notes that I might try to see if we covered everything real quick. Let's see. I mentioned the guy with the PSP, the responsibility line. Okay, yeah. Oh, okay. So the one thing I want to mention is going back to the blind part. It like she comes out of the water and she's hit by the firework and she's blind, and the music is triumphant. Like she is paralyzed and she is blinded, but the music is just like, heck yes. This is great. And I guess, she was saved or whatever, so that's nice, but I don't know. It was just like a weird tone for the scene, I felt. So I liked her Professor X chair at the end.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah. I think that's it. I do want to say the diner scene, all the girls dancing on the table. Why are they doing that? Just a very weird scene. It's just bizarre.
Very uncomfortable for everybody else in the restaurant.
Yeah. But
Cassie drives through another wall.
She drives through a wall. After the first time I forgot, and I thought this was going to be something I was going to bring up, but like there's that guy in the diner who like calls them in, like calls the cops and is like, hey, and guessing says, hey, I think I see the girls who were kidnapped. And I thought that just like went nowhere. But then it's like Ezekiel Sims when he's told he's like getting in his fancy car, and somehow he taps into like the police and is like, oh, those aren't the girls we're looking for. This felt false alarm or something like that.
Boy, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah. Well, I didn't until a second time. So
wow.
Don't blame me.
It's the subtleties. You really got to watch it twice.
For real. Yeah. Fantastic movie. Loved it. Hilarious. But yeah, I think that's it. We should go on to our discussion of Maestro.
Let's talk about Maestro, starring Bradley Cooper, directed by Bradley Cooper. Carey Mulligan's the co-star. Non-spoiler review coming at you right after this little jingle.
All right, Jimmy. Maestro, directed and written and starring Bradley Cooper. What's the synopsis for this one?
On the verge of securing a golden opportunity, American conductor Leonard Bernstein begins a tumultuous relationship with actress Felicia Montealegre. I forget how to pronounce that right. Upturning their lives. Hey, hold on. Upturning their lives.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Upturning. I've never heard of upturning.
Yeah, that's just a weird way of putting it. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, you remember that movie Napoleon? Mm-hmm. What if they did it, but it was Leonard Bernstein? Here you go.
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of mixed on this movie. I think it's well made for the most part. I think there's a lot of solid elements to it. And maybe a lot of them are similar to what our positives on Napoleon are, honestly.
I like this movie way more than Napoleon.
Yeah, same.
But also I know way less about Leonard Bernstein. So I wonder if a lot of Leonard Bernstein people are like,
I think
this is their Napoleon for them.
I think at the very least, this movie has a lot of like interesting filmmaking things going on, especially in the first half. But it's, I don't know. It's kind of like, it's similar to Napoleon. I feel like it's a movie where I just never really got to know the main character that well. Like, I feel like it was a lot of stuff that was kind of talked at me, but it didn't really land. I feel like it focused so much on this relationship between the two that it was hard to get a read on a lot of individual characteristics on them that maybe would have been helpful to appreciate it more. And I think that's ultimately my biggest problem. I think overall it's solid. I think it's solid, but it's nowhere near my top of the year for me.
No, it's just, look, it wasn't a movie that was ever going to be my favorite movie, but I would have said that about Tar though too, because this movie is the culmination of Tar and Napoleon for me. Like if you just merge those two movies. Yeah, it's very
similar. I like Tar a lot more.
I like Tar a lot more than this movie. Yeah. I would just honestly say, unless you're a huge Leonard Bernstein fan, go watch Tar.
Yeah.
Would be my recommendation. And again, I think this is a solid movie. I think it deserves a Best Picture nomination. Bradley Cooper is fantastic in the role and as the director.
I was worried that it was going to be boring. I don't think it was really ever boring for me. And just because I'm kind of like you, I didn't know that much about Leonard Bernstein. But I mean, he seems to be a fascinating character. And a lot of what they're presented in this is really interesting too. But there's a lot of hiccups that really hold it back for me from considering it great in my book, I would say. But that's not to denounce the good things, which I think for the most part include the performances. Quite good. Bradley Cooper, I think, gives a pretty good performance as Leonard Bernstein. I don't think he's as good as the other nominees that I've seen for Best Actor, personally. But Carey Mulligan, I thought, was great.
Carey Mulligan was great.
I thought she was probably the best one of the movie, personally.
It definitely does feel like Best Picture bait, Oscar bait sort of thing, which, you can't just judge a movie based on that. I think 15 years ago, this movie would have just won Best Picture.
Yeah, probably.
It's just like, okay, they put a lot of effort and care into this movie. It's got a lot of really nice things going for it. It's just not my favorite type of movie. I'd rather see a different type of movie.
And as far as biopics go, it's got a more interesting style, like structure than a lot of them.
Certainly.
So it's
really good makeup.
Yeah, it's great.
The old person makeup on Bradley Cooper is fantastic.
It's very, very.
He definitely looks like an old man.
He does. Yeah, he does. One thing I am mixed on, and I'm curious to see what you think about it, is the music for this movie. Because it is entirely just Leonard Bernstein recordings, which I understand that from like an artistic choice, but I also think there are a lot of scenes where they found something that kind of fits and it doesn't really work for me. There are a couple places where I'm like, this is very distracting. This is just...
Well, when they played the one from West Side Story.
Yeah, that was the worst one. Yeah, and it just did not match the tone of what was happening in the scene at all. And, it's good music. It is very good music, and it's cool hearing those recordings, but I feel like you could include a lot of those and maybe write some new Bernstein-esque music that just fits the movie or something. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't feel that strongly about it. Honestly, my favorite scene of the whole movie is when he just conducts an orchestra.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's easily the best scene of the movie. I hands down. It's so good.
I don't know a ton about conducting, but I was convinced by Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, I mean, if he wasn't completely conducting that orchestra, he would have fooled us. Yeah. Looked great. I mean, he was
just recreating a recording or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I was wondering, part of me was like, is the orchestra actually playing like that, or is it, And for the most part, what little I know of some of those instruments, it looked like the movements matched up with the sounds, but. There's also possibilities that they could have done the old clicker the track in the ear or something to keep up. But I mean, he seemed to be doing a great job. From what I mean, the one scene that archive footage that plays over the beginning of the credits, it seems to be accurate to how he conducts as a person. Very, very flamboyant and big, and just I don't know. He's a lot of facial expressions, a lot of movement. So that seems very accurate. I'm sure he spent a lot of time studying how to conduct well and just how he used to do it. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting themes that are explored in this. Kind of, just about through Bernstein's characters himself and mainly his like sexuality and how that affects his relationship with his wife. But it didn't, for as long and as like slowly paced, not boring, but just like methodical movie. It didn't seem like it had as much meat on the bone as it.
Yeah.
I think the hard part is I would like this movie a lot more if I had never seen Tar. But Tar exists. I'm like, Tar is just this, but
that's just the one to watch.
It's just the themes are so much deeper in Tar, and the movie's just so much more interesting, and the character, the way she's portrayed is so much more interesting because you don't have two main characters in Tar. This movie has two main characters is the problem. Really, honestly, because it's like, Felicia is just as much a character as Leonard Bernstein is. Mm-hmm. And Napoleon's a similar way that I think it's a very unique angle to take. It just I don't think they quite landed it. Especially like the rockiness of their relationship. I just didn't feel the full ebbs and flows. I felt like it was a little bit manufactured and it didn't necessarily, because of the structure, I didn't feel like I was in lockstep with their thoughts as the characters. Like I didn't completely empathize with them and feel like, okay, I 100% feel where this person's coming from because I saw this and I experienced this with them and I feel the other side and I saw experience with them. It felt like, okay, now we're at this part of the play where these two characters have these emotions and these are two really good actors who are feeling these things that these people felt in real life. But as an audience member, I wasn't quite there with them.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I think this movie, to its credit, it doesn't really handhold too much. There's a lot of implied stuff off screen that you have to pick up on, which can be appreciated. But I think it does it to almost to a detrimental degree in this movie, where you just aren't seeing a lot of what the build up to these certain big moments. It also reminded me to. It might not be the most apt comparison. And I know I've used this comparison recently. I can't remember what movie it was, but similar to the Steve Jobs movie, the Danny Boyle one. It's a movie that movie is like, it's about Steve Jobs and his work, but it's analyzed through his relationships with his family. And I feel like that's similar here, but it's just like, in some ways, I feel like his family ebbs and flows, as you said, aren't quite fleshed out. I also feel like his work takes a back seat for a lot of it. Like we don't really get to see
Leonard Bernstein.
Yeah, like as a professional.
Other than the scene where he conducts the orchestra, it's the best scene of the movie.
Yeah, well, and maybe, and I don't want we don't know much about him. Maybe as his professional life really didn't have that much rockiness to it, so maybe it is just not that interesting in that regard. But yeah, we just don't really see a lot of things. He hints at a lot about there's this one scene where he hints at that he doesn't particularly like that he's most well known for musicals, and I think that is true of him in real life. But we don't really go any deeper into that. Like that, West Side Story is maybe his most famous thing he ever composed. So yeah, there's just a lot of little things here in that regard that I feel like
it's like he gatekept himself.
Gate-kept himself.
Like, oh, this isn't actual art, so I shouldn't do it. But I should. But now I'm not going to.
Yeah,
I need to do something meaningful.
One, there's a conversation earlier about he's at the. I mean, without it's not really a spoiler, but he's at that table with his wife and then those two other people, and he's talking about wanting to be a conductor or whatever. Or someone wants him to be a conductor, and he's like, oh, I like making musicals, and that seems to be kind of flipped later, but that's never really elaborated on. And I feel like that's just an interesting thing that I think could have also, maybe with a little movie, magic, you could have easily tied that into the relationship stuff and still kept the heart of the movie the same. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's a very good movie. I could see why people really like it. I think it's fully worthy of the Oscar nominations that it got. It's on Netflix. And yeah, I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. I was not really looking forward to seeing this.
As far as
it's different enough from as a musical biopic.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't play
structure.
like a musical biopic. But go and watch Tar. I don't know what to say.
I do want to say, just to get some more positive things out before we go to spoilers, I hinted at it earlier. I think this movie is shot quite well.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, and I think the first half, there's a lot of like really clever editing, like transitions between locations that I loved. They kind of dropped that later, and I think part of that is when it was black and white, they were maybe taking more from just filmmaking of the black and white era, and maybe they switched that up when it turned color. But that was just very interesting the way they did that, and I thought it was pretty seamless too. So I thought that just made it more interesting in the first half.
Yeah, sweet. Anything else to say, Holden? What are you going to rate this one?
I'll probably give it a 7. I think it's a good movie. It is so far my least favorite out of the Best Picture noms, but it's solid. But Tar I think was a 9.5 for me. So just go see that.
Best Picture nominees. Yeah, where would I have this? Maybe stick around for that after this little break when we dive into spoilers. Here we go.
All right, Jimmy. Where does it rank for you?
Okay, we got, so far I've seen The Holdovers, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Past Lives, Maestro, and Killers of the Flower Moon. Yeah, probably that. Yeah, last.
Yeah, and we still haven't seen American Fiction, Zone of Interest, or Anatomy of a Fall, but
yeah,
at least Zone of Interest and Anatomy of a Fall I've heard very good things about, so I wouldn't be surprised.
And American Fiction.
Yeah, American Fiction too. It's a pretty stacked year.
I don't necessarily think it's like the worst, but I probably enjoyed the other ones more at least.
Yeah, it's definitely my least favorite.
We will do our top movies of 2023 soon when the Oscars come out.
Coming soon.
So that's, if you're like,
exciting.
Where's your list?
Well, we always wait for the Oscars.
We always wait.
Seen the Oscar noms.
Yeah.
So
because we don't live in New York City.
Yeah, we weren't able to see Zone of Interest. Like literally didn't get released outside of festivals until like January. So, anyway, spoilers for Maestro. I mean, it's history, but if you're like us, we didn't know much about it.
I don't know anything about history.
Yeah, at all.
Yeah. So let's see. What should we be talking about here?
So start of the movie. I mean, I thought it was interesting to me that like right from the get go, he's evidently attracted to men, right? Like just out and about. He's has some sort of relationship with this one guy, played by Matt Bomer. And so I thought that was interesting because most movies that have this structure, and this is what I was expecting. Because I did know that Leonard Bernstein liked men at some point, and I thought that was kind of where this movie was going to go. Was he discovers that about himself later on in the movie, and then that's the conflict with his wife and everything. That's, if you've seen Bohemian Rhapsody, that's kind of how that goes and everything. But no, that's not it. He's into men right at the beginning, and then he falls in love with this woman, and seemingly kind of leaves it behind to an extent, at least is very romantically. And I think one of the most interesting things about him is he is like genuinely, at least romantically, in love with Carey Mulligan's character.
Oh yeah,
throughout. Whether or not it's sexual at all, who knows? But there is a connection there, and they're she never divorces him or really wants to at any point, because I think she also recognizes they have that connection despite his sexual preferences and everything. And so I think that is the most interesting part, because then you have the aspect of the movie where she's aware of like these affairs he's having and seems to be okay with it to some extent.
Yeah, well, she resents him at first, but then she has the whole cathartic moment after he conducts the orchestra when she goes to that cathedral or whatever, and she says like there's no hate in your heart.
Well, and even before that, she's like helping him hide the affairs from the public, since it wasn't okay at the seen okay at the time. And it doesn't seem like she is like, I don't know. It's a more complex dynamic than you would normally see. I think like it's not completely her wanting to divorce him, leave him, because of all these things. He's not hiding it from her, and she seems somewhat accepting, even if there is some resentment there. It's just an interesting dynamic, I think.
Yeah.
So
I think it is interesting how it ends up where she's just like, well, I shouldn't have needed your attention. Like, I resented you for not giving me more attention, but I should have just realized that you love everybody and I can't have you all to myself. But now, so I'm going to come to terms with that and just be happy with what I get and not resent you for that. I thought that was okay. That's interesting way for it to end up.
And she has that she has that story too, where she talks about this like date she goes on. Yeah, and it's another guy who's gay and is only on this excursion to hook up with one of her friends.
Yeah,
she says she has a type.
Yeah,
that was a good line.
So that's interesting. Of course, it's like as soon as she finally has this breakthrough, she gets breast cancer that it turns into lung cancer, I believe.
Oh yeah. Real quick, let me say, I got secondhand lung cancer from this movie. There is so much smoking in this movie. That was something I noticed, like every scene he's got
smoking. A cigarette in his mouth. Yeah.
Which
I'll tell you, darling, this is New York City. I mean, everybody's smoking. Well, yeah,
so cool.
We got to go to this party. You got to go to this party. You just, well, I have him come along. He's a delightful young chap.
He does really talk like that too. It's pretty funny. One of the things I feel like was really underdeveloped was his relationship with his daughter.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, what's her name? Maya Hawke. Yeah.
Who's just she's
great. Yeah, but she's just not in it very often. And the whole thing is like
that feels like there was maybe stuff cut from it.
Like the most significant part is that he wants to tell her about his sexuality, but mom doesn't. But she kind of knows anyway.
Yeah, there was really no payoff
and
to that.
That doesn't pay off to that.
There's a whole scene where he lies to her and is like, I guess stretches the truth. It doesn't really lie, but does lie, because she mentions these rumors. She never really says what the rumors are, and then he says the rumors are false.
It's just jealousy, darling. I mean, just jealous. People are jealous. That's the way they are.
Yeah, and then later on, there's just a whole conversation on the phone where he's like talking about this guy that he's hooking up with, Tommy or whatever.
Yeah, he's drunk or whatever, right?
Yeah, and she doesn't have there's really no payoff to like that lie or anything.
Well, she's like, please don't talk to me about this.
Yeah. It's just strange, that dynamic. I don't know. But yeah, I think that stuff was, especially with getting like Maya Hawke for that, there's probably stuff cut out. So
yep.
What else?
I'm thinking of a number. Hold on.
I'm thinking of a number. That's a cute scene. I think like they're when they were dating and everything. I was seeing people say the first half was like boring to them, but honestly, I liked their relationship for the most part. I thought it was cute. Like seeing them
maybe like
grow.
the first half more than the second, honestly. Other than that one scene where he conducts the orchestra.
Yeah, I might be in the same boat, especially since that's where you have all the cool transitions.
I just feel like it's just more style.
Yeah. And then it turns color when it's the scene where she seemingly that's the one where she finds out that, he's into men, because he's flirting with that and kisses Tommy or whatever, that guy.
They have the argument while the Macy's parade is going on.
Yeah. That was interesting. I mean, it was a very good scene. It was very...
Who abandoned Snoopy in the vestibule?
It was a pretty... It was pretty funny punctuation to that. It was a good argument. I don't. You mentioned the line earlier where you have hate in your heart. I don't entirely. And I think
you don't have hate in your heart is what she says.
Well, but
you
don't
have
any. But earlier she has you have hate in your heart during that argument. I don't understand where that sentiment really comes from.
That's the scene where I was like, this. I don't necessarily like. I get like you resent each other, but I didn't feel that scene.
Yeah.
It felt like a scene that was manufactured and acted very well, and everything worked technically, but the emotional core didn't resonate with me.
Yeah, it was just strange because Bernstein he's had these affairs and whatever, but he's always seemed to be at least somewhat maybe aloof but attentive to his family. He's always been passionate about his career and everything. I don't really get where the hate line comes from. And then you have that payoff later on where she says you don't have hate in your heart, which is nice, but I'm still like, I don't really know what you meant by that earlier still too. So I don't know. But yeah, briefly that scene in the cathedral with being conducted, apparently that is like a very famous performance of his that he conducted. Fantastic. Just a very good piece of music. I can't remember if that's an original piece of his or not, but regardless, it was a very, very good conducting. I thought. Yeah. And the orchestra sounded great if it was live or whatever.
It must have been original. Well, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous. Very good.
What else about this movie? What else? I guess I should look at this Wikipedia here because I know I'm forgetting a lot.
I mean, well, yeah, the whole scene at the beginning where he just gets his lucky break where the guy's sick and all that. And he goes in. I didn't know any of that. That's interesting.
It was interesting. And that's the stuff that I feel like we could have used more of with his career. Because I was like, and it was at like the very beginning. And it was just kind of an interesting way to introduce us to this character and his drive and ambition. But then, yeah, it's just the conducting and composing takes such a back seat to the rest of the movie, which I don't know. It seems like he was, for how passionate he was about the music and everything. I did like that, he was very supportive of his wife and everything, and her TV career and whatnot. That was very cool. And she was supportive of his. There was, in the first half, there was one shot that was pretty heavy-handed, I thought.
Which one was that?
That was the one where he's like conducting and she's like really small, like in his shadow. Yeah. I was like, okay. Yeah, I get it. Like he's more famous. I get it. Which, whatever. I also didn't. If that was the intent, I felt like that was the intended emotion of the scene. I also feel like that was just like a weird thing to insert there. What else? I don't know. Maybe there's just not a lot to say.
No, it was a good movie.
That was Mahler that he was conducting.
Oh, Mahler's
Resurrection Symphony. I didn't recognize it because I don't listen to classical music.
You're not a nerd.
I guess towards the end, the whole stuff with Felicia getting breast cancer, that was very sad.
That was when she gets the diagnosis, that was a very powerful scene.
Yeah, it was, and her performance is great. I think Carey Mulligan is just a fantastic actress. Maybe underrated. Maybe she's not. Maybe she's rated, but fantastic. I don't know. Rated. I feel like a lot of people just don't know who she is, but she's great. But yeah, and then her being in the kind of recovery area and meeting. It was
hard
friends.
To watch her die.
Yeah, gosh.
Geez. Her little half sheets of paper, toilet paper that she would rip.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yikes! Gosh.
Yeah, that was really hard.
Just that one
scenes.
Lady couldn't even finish her story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then after she dies, there's not much more. There was that one needle drop song where I do not remember the name of the song. I think it's from like the 90s or something, but they literally say the name Leonard Bernstein in the song.
We didn't start the fire.
Is that We Didn't Start the Fire?
I think it is.
Oh, okay. For some reason I was thinking it was a different song.
Oh, maybe it's a different song.
I don't know. We're looking like fools on
Leonard
Bernstein
song with Leonard Bernstein in the lyrics.
There you go. It's the end of the world as we know it.
It's the end of the world as we know it. Yeah, I close.
That makes sense. It does sound like REM. Yeah. But I thought that was kind of stupid, that needle drop in there, but it was kind of funny. He also has the name, the license plate Maestro in that scene.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I will say,
I get it. That's the theme of the movie.
Yeah, that's the theme of the movie.
Well, that's maybe. Do you think he actually had that, and that's why they called it the movie? That
maybe I could see
that. That's actually my license plate. Actually,
I will say there were a couple people in this movie who did say Maestro.
The guy at the beginning said Maestro.
Yeah, Which, we've had that conversation on the podcast before. I've said it accidentally a couple times. So, I think it can be said both ways. I do agree that Maestro is probably the best way to say it. I just sometimes slip up. So, yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then he has that party scene.
Just going to do this.
Okay.
Just here. If I can. Oh my gosh. It keeps one.
Yeah, didn't you do this before?
Maestro.
There we go. That was mostly up.
Maestro.
There we go. Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's about all I have to say.
There's a learn to pronounce on here, Holden.
Okay.
Maybe you need that.
Yeah, Maestro.
Yeah, maybe.
I think I've said it right this whole episode.
What is it from? It's Italian, so I'm sure the Italian pronunciation is Maestro.
Sure.
It's a romantic language, musical language, Maestro.
One of the things I wanted to mention, and I don't know, who knows if this is intentional or not. Bradley Cooper. So there's a big public thing about him having like a fake nose on in this movie, which it looked convincing, but especially towards the end of the movie, it sounded like he had like a stopped up nose. And I was wondering if that was because I wasn't sure if that was Leonard Bernstein, how he actually sounded, or if that was just because he had this prosthetic nose on.
I don't know.
And who knows? It's hard to tell. Just something I noticed. Don't feel one way or the other about it, but I think that's it.
Yep.
Jimmy?
There we go.
We had a lot more to say about Madam Web.
Yeah. But yeah, let's go on to the last segment of the show, which of course is What Are You Doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing?
All right, Jimmy. This week, I watched a few things. I actually caught up on a couple movies in theaters I had been meaning to see. I hadn't seen yet. First off, being Mean Girls, the musical.
How was it?
It's fine.
Fine or fun?
It was fine.
Yeah, I heard it was fine.
Yeah, it's like there's some good performances in it. Some of the music's very good, but a lot of it, I don't know. It is very much just like repeating the same lines as the last movie, and just not usually for the most part as good. Girl who plays Regina George, Renee Rapp, she was very good, as well as I can't remember the actress's name. She's the actress who plays Moana, voices Moana, but she was one of the main characters in this. She was Janice, quite good as well. Really liked that. But otherwise, it was fine. But the movie I saw that I liked a lot more was Lisa Frankenstein.
Yeah, how was that?
I really liked it. I really, really liked it, actually. And it's funny because for the first 40 minutes of this movie, I did not think I was going to like it.
First 40 minutes?
First 40 minutes. This movie is like probably an hour 40.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to like this movie. I was like not on its wavelength. And then the last hour happened, and maybe it was a little less than 40 minutes. I don't know. But the last part of the movie happened. I was so into it. Once stuff starts going down, I was like, this is very fun. It's like a Tim Burton, like if anyone out there has seen the movie Heathers, there's a lot of influence there. It's written by Diablo Cody, who did Jennifer's Body and Juno. So there's a lot of dark humor in there. And I think the performances in it are quite good. And it's a very funny movie. It pushes the PG-13 rating to its limit, I'll say too, in a lot of ways. I'd recommend it a lot. I think it's my favorite movie of the year so far, granted, it's been a lot of just like
2024.
Yeah, 2024. Granted, it's been a lot of just like 5, 6 out of 10s for me so far. So this one's, I don't know exactly where I'd put it, but it's not like phenomenal, but I quite enjoyed it. Very good time.
Nice.
If you like horror comedies, I think it's right down your alley. If you like dark humor, there you go. Other than that, I'm trying to remember. I know like close to 2 weeks ago, I watched Ocean's 13, finished off that trilogy. I liked it. It was probably my least favorite out of the trilogy, but it was still solid. Had a lot of style, great cast. Al Pacino was the villain in it, which I didn't know. So that was kind of a surprise. But I enjoyed that. I'm just pulling up my letterbox real quick.
Just pulling up my letterbox here real quick.
Yeah. The other notable thing I watched was a week ago Friday. I went to the State Theater here in town and watched Tammy and the T-Rex.
What was that?
Hilarious. It's a movie from like the early 90s, directed by the very infamous Mac and Me director. I don't know if you've ever heard the movie Mac and Me. It's like a E.T. ripoff from the 80s that is like filled with McDonald's and Coca-Cola product placement.
Okay.
Very interesting movie to look into. But the whole story behind this movie is this director had this friend that called him up and was like, hey, I have this animatronic T-Rex in my possession and I have to give it back in like a month. Let's just make a movie with it. And so they made a movie, and it stars a very young Paul Walker. And the whole concept is that he gets attacked and like mortally wounded, and then gets his brain stolen and put into an animatronic T-Rex. A hilarious. It's one of the only movies I can think of that is like equal parts intentionally and unintentionally funny. There's a lot of like very tongue-in-cheek stuff in it that I think works really well. I also think there's a lot of stuff that just does not work very well and is very funny because of it. Very violent movie, a lot of very funny kills in it. Just a hilarious concept. I would recommend it if you like just weird. I'm not sure if I'd call it a slasher movie, but very bizarre. Apparently it was like released in the 90s with a PG-13 cut, like a 70-minute cut of the movie that just removed all the gore, and it was like marketed as a kids movie. So if you almost imagine that, or like if you put in all the violence and everything, or if you take all that out, you could almost consider it a kids movie. That's like the tone. It's bizarre movie. But it was a very fun movie to see, and just a crowd of people that were all on board with it and all knew what they were in for. So anyway, that was long, but otherwise, I finished Final Fantasy VII Remake. Again, quite liked it. I played the demo of the new one, liking it. And I'm really just kind of holding out for the new one since that comes out in like a week and a half. And otherwise, I feel like I finished a show. I can't remember what I had been watching 2 weeks ago. I started watching the new season of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur on Disney Plus, which is a very good animated show. But other than that, I think that's about it. What about you, Jimmy? What have you been up to?
Well, this is the first year I'm not going to forget to mention Mulan after I watched it 5 times.
It's the Mulan time of year?
Yeah. Well, 5.5, 6, 7. It was a little fuzzy how many times I watched it.
Was it still good?
It's still incredible. That movie, I get goosebumps at the climax like every time.
Maybe you should get a Mulan poster up.
Maybe I should. Why have I not thought of that?
You love Mulan that much.
I do. Mulan is a top 10 favorite movie, I think, for me.
Jimmy's been trying to figure out new posters to put up in his new house that he just bought.
Yeah. These will eventually be up. I noticed that they're lower than the other ones here on the what is this? The right side of your screen?
Yeah.
Because they're just on these sofa tables that are here, but got a nice little movie room down here. But why have I not thought about getting a Mulan poster? I thought about getting a Barbarian poster.
That'd be good.
But
that'd be a cool poster.
They only have the originals available online, so it's like $60, and I have all my posters are the 24 by 36, whereas like the actual posters are 27 by 40. So it would be a different size, and then I'd have to get another one that size. But I like the Barbarian poster quite a bit. But
yeah. I think that's my problem. I think I was trying to get a Babylon poster, and I think they were all the slightly larger size too.
Yeah, it's weird. There's like you would think you'd just be able to get a movie poster, but they don't really exist.
They don't exist unless they're like popular.
Yeah,
enough.
which is weird.
A weird cult demand for it.
Yeah, just weird. But yeah, no, I'll have movie posters around, and yeah, Mulan. It's a great movie. It really is. I think it is very deep, and I think people like Mulan a lot, but I don't think it gets quite the credit it deserves. I mean, I obviously made that one video about the kind of first 15 minutes or so of the movie, but I think a lot of it carries through. I think end of the first act is a little weak. Like that's for the movie that I've seen now like 27 times or whatever, that it's like, okay.
Yeah, sure.
This is the one part that drags just a little bit. But otherwise, I think the score is fantastic. I mean, the music
short too, so it's pretty. Well
yeah, it's an hour and a half, I think. Or hour 21, maybe even.
You should rewatch the live action one.
I really should, because I've only seen the live action one once, and it was after I had only seen the first one once, and I remember not liking it then. But
yeah,
I think
probably hate it more
I
now.
would probably really dislike it.
87 minutes.
Yeah, it's 80s, but then it's like hour 21 to like the credits.
Oh, sure.
It is. Yeah, it's brisk, but it has all the development in there. It's insane. Otherwise, I think the only I'm probably blanking here, but the other thing I started yesterday, just an hour into this, is a Plague Tale Requiem because I am teaching the Black Plague this week. Oh, nice. So nice. I'm like, I gotta get in the mood.
Yeah, you're
and I'm like, it's a single player linear game that I can do this.
There's a couple open areas in it, but
dang it.
It's not they're not huge.
Isn't that game like 18 hours or something? It's like surprisingly long.
It is pretty long.
That's too long. Games should be like dozen hours. I think 12 hours is the perfect. 12 to 15 hours, I think, is the perfect length of a game.
I think there's a little bit of filler in it, but I think for the most part, it has a lot of things going on, so it kind of justifies it. Yeah. So you'll see as you go.
There's a 60 frames per second patch. Did you know that?
I think so. I think I played it.
Okay, well, when it came out, though, wasn't it only 30? And that was a big controversy?
Oh, you're right.
There's a performance mode on it now. I did not know that until I started playing it.
I don't remember how I played it. I feel like I played it.
It had to be 30.
Yeah.
I had never heard of it.
Maybe that's new. Maybe that's new.
Plague Tale Requiem performance patch. But while you're saying that, hold on. What are we doing next week?
All right. So next week, we're for sure going to be doing Zone of Interest, I think. It's playing at our local theater.
May 21st? 2023?
I guess that would have been after I played it, probably.
I guess I didn't realize it had been out that long. But that was a big deal. That was like it's only been like it's like, brand new and only 30 frames per second on the new consoles.
So Zone of Interest next week, as well as I'd like to do Drive Away Dolls. That comes out this week.
We'll see. I have a family thing going on Thursday, so I don't.
Okay.
So
I really want to see Drive Away Dolls because it's the new Ethan Coen movie, but for sure Zone of Interest.
Mm-hmm. So. Zone of Interest for sure. And then maybe Drive Away Dolls. We'll see.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Cool.
There you go.
All right, sounds good. If you want to leave us a request, you can do so by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes or email us at tomppodcast@gmail.com or donate to our Patreon. It's going to be a shorter gap between this and the next episode because we're recording this on a Tuesday. We usually record on Sundays, so we'll be recording in less than a week again.
Yes. I did remember one more thing. I watched the Alexander the Great new Netflix show, and I liked it.
How was it?
It was good. They don't talk about how he dies. I was like,
weird.
It's called Alexander, Making of a God. It's very interesting because they take it from the perspective of like this Egyptian oracle, and it's Alexander the Great versus Darius III. And it's like it's their perspectives, and it's actually like very good. Mm-hmm. And it is TV 14, and they do a really good job of balancing the talking heads and the actual like reenactment of it.
Sure.
And I think the guy who plays Alexander the Great was good. He gave me a lot of what's his name? Richard Madden, the guy who played Robb Stark.
Oh, okay.
Richard Madden, is that his name?
Yeah.
Game of Thrones. It gave me a lot of those vibes. He was very good. And the guy who played Darius III of Persia was great as well. I really liked how they gave Persia its due credit because Persia is just seen as like, from the Western perspective, like the villains of the story a lot of time and not really appreciated for all the things that they accomplished. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I really liked it. I really appreciate how they're like, hey, this is what we know. This is what we don't know. And this is where we're going to like just take our creative liberties with it.
Sure.
And it's not boring. Unlike that first episode of the Cleopatra show that everybody hated. I was like, whatever about the skin color. I just they're just boring.
Yeah. It's just boring.
I'm like, how do they make the most interesting story ever boring? So there you go. That's all we got. We'll see you next week. Until then, adios, pantalones.
Love you.